Hey everyone, welcome to the vid. I hope you're doing good. And I am Dan, obviously, and I'm here with my brother Ben. And you probably know me from my other channel, Dan Passive Income, where I talk about DeFi and passive income and yield bearing and all that type of stuff. But on this channel, we're going to step away from all that a little bit and we're going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to do something different because me and Ben, we like to have chats about Bitcoin off camera. And you probably know a few things about Bitcoin, like, oh, it's the original crypto and you buy low and sell high and you hodl it and you day trade it and all that type of stuff. And obviously all of that is true. But also this channel is more of just like a bit of fun. We're going to talk about some stuff which you probably haven't thought about and you probably don't know. And I'm certainly learning a lot about Bitcoin from Ben, and we just want to share that with you. So let's get into it. Ben, how you doing? Thanks for coming on
Hey,
camera.
yeah, no worries. It's good to be here. Good to have a chat. Um, yeah, just here to talk about some Bitcoin stuff. There's a lot going on in that space, in that world. It's got its own kind of huge ecosystem and stuff. So, um, it's just like a never-ending plethora of stories and dramas and whatever. There's just so much going on. So it's fun to just bring our chats online and share it with everyone else in case they're missing out or doing other things.
Mm.
Um,
I noticed
so
that
yeah,
too. Like when we do talk off camera about it, like there's always something new about Bitcoin or something, some stupid meme or something like that. So um, yeah, I am learning a lot, which is kind of cool. So
yeah.
what did you want to sort of chat about today, I guess?
I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people aren't into Bitcoin because there's no yield or anything like that. It's kind of this lame, boring grandfather coin that its moonshot days are done or something like that. And you know, there's definitely, I guess, that's kind of true in a way, but maybe that's maybe missing the point. So um, I don't know. Like, what do you think? Like, what was your opinion in terms of there's no yield or whatever, so therefore I'm not interested, or like, what
Uh,
was your?
Yeah, I guess like the moonshot thing was a bit of a thing, like with Bitcoin. I don't know, it just seemed, it's like the blue chip. It just seemed like a little bit boring, I guess. But with all this DeFi
Yeah,
stuff, it's like, oh, you can put money into a liquidity pool and get yield from that. You can do lending and borrowing, you can, I mean, as we all know, pretty much the vast majority of the projects have dried up just because obviously it's the bear market and you know a lot of them, the vast majority of them relied on Ponzinomics. It's only now that projects are starting to get out of the Ponzinomics and use real world revenue. But Bitcoin is always just this thing of, I don't know, it's just like, what do you do with it? You hold it, you sell it. Wow, that's fun, you know?
yeah,
But I think from chatting with you, you're like, because I remember me and you chatting and I said to you, I think we were talking about drip. I don't know what we were talking about. And you were saying, well, what's the value in it? What's the real world value or utility in it? The buzzword of utility, which I really hate that word. Um, but then I sort of turned it around and I said, well, what's the utility of Bitcoin? What do you do? Like the only reason Bitcoin has value is because we think that it has value. That's all it does. It's just a value thing. It doesn't actually do anything. And you couldn't really answer me that. And I think I don't know if that started your journey or if it had started before then or after then or whenever. But I remember you when we chatted about it a little bit after, and you're like, oh yeah, actually I have found some utility for it, and then you just started to find more and more and more, and it's just like, oh wow, like Bitcoin literally is its own world unto itself. It is a coin that you can hold and sell, but um, that's what I thought in a
yeah,
not so small nutshell. Yeah.
yeah. So there's like the coin, and then there's the network as well. They're both called Bitcoin, the Bitcoin network and the Bitcoin coin. um, So the Bitcoin network is where heaps of stuff's happening. Heaps of people are building on top of it. Like you've probably heard of, so Bitcoin's a layer one, and then you've got layer twos. You've probably heard of that, and there's layer threes building on top of that. So it's got its own thing going on. But But I think like the main point of Bitcoin like is just to replace fiat currencies. So fiat currencies are US dollars, euros, yen, those kind of things. So you look at, you know, CoinGecko or whatever, and there's like the top 1,000 coins or whatever is the top 20 list, and it's, you know, Bitcoin, ETH, Cardano, blah blah blah. And there's this impression that Bitcoin's in competition. It's winning, but it's in competition with all those other coins. But probably more accurate is that it's in competition with the yen and the euro and the dollar. It's not like it's not really competing with the other cryptos. It's competing with the entire fiat money system. So when I say fiat, I just mean dollars and all those variations or whatever. So, so I guess like the end result of Bitcoin is that it takes over the whole world's money system, and everyone is using Bitcoin in the end.
When
and
you sorry, like when you first started talking about that about all that to me, it's very fantastical, as in like it's very awe-inspiring. You know, it's very big, it's very massive. Like, oh, Bitcoin is gonna replace the current fiat system. And you know, there's, I guess, like the skeptic in me. It's changed a little bit, but like the skeptic in me is always like, well, if it's going to do that, why isn't it doing that? And you know, like crypto's too hard to get into for the mass public. You know, I can't go and buy a loaf of bread with Bitcoin and all that type of stuff. So just to hear you say, oh, it's going to be the world currency and all this type of stuff, it's like, well, first of all, is it? And second of all, if it does do that, when's it going to happen? And third of all, you know, what about all the middle ground in between? You know, that type of stuff.
Okay.
So I guess maybe just people listening might be like, well, you can't just assume that. But what I didn't know, and this is kind of my own ignorance, is that that's the whole reason Bitcoin was even invented, was to replace or to have a good monetary system, you know, to replace the failing fiat system. So I just wanted to sort of bring back what I was feeling when I first started talking about when we first started talking about all this. But obviously my thoughts have changed a little bit somewhat since then. I'm not quite on the it's going to take over the world in 10 years sort of thing, but I see how it could do that, and I see how it is a better potential for the money. But I mean, the crypto industry is growing rapidly, and there's tons of new coins and new projects coming out, and just blockchain technology is getting adapted everywhere. And pretty much wherever blockchain is, there's probably going to be some kind of token or coin attached to it, you know. So there could still be Bitcoin, but I think other coins are still going to be there as well. So I don't know. What do you think?
I don't like, so when I got into it, it's sort of going down historical path. So when you look back through history at every single civilization ever, they always trend towards one money. It's just a human thing. Like no one wants to hold the crap money. No one wants to get paid in the crap money. They want the best money that most people accept. So that's just a phenomena. That's nothing to do with crypto or Bitcoin or anything. That's, you know, that was known before Bitcoin was even invented. And so just bearing that in mind, that in a kind of enclosed system, like say a country or a city state, everyone just goes to the best money in that area, in that locality. So nowadays we don't really have, well, we obviously have geographical borders and nation states and stuff, but there is the internet. So money that is on the internet is available to everyone. And when you look into the kind of fundamentals of what makes good money, I won't go into it, but and I, you know, obviously encourage everyone to go and research this and like try and pull it apart as much as you can, because that's what I did. Because I'm like, really, is this happening? And I'm like, all right, no way, let's get in there. And the more you research, you're like, oh crap, it looks like it's happening. But just going back, if you bear in mind these little facts that people always go to the best money available to them, Bitcoin's available to everyone. Therefore, it's kind of likely, just based on history, that we will all go to that one kind of money.
Good
And
though,
maybe,
like,
you know, oh yeah.
No, you go,
I was
you go.
just gonna say, like, maybe I'm wrong. It's kind of like Pascal's wager. Have you heard of that? The
Yeah, but I can't remember what it is.
so the it was that guy way back when who said it was like a religious thing of like um he's saying like if you die and you don't believe in God, you go to hell for eternity. Or if you do believe in God, you go to heaven for eternity. Therefore, you may as well just believe in God, right? Just in case.
Oh
And
yeah.
so if you take that approach with Bitcoin, it's like, yeah, maybe history's not going to repeat this time, and maybe we won't all trend to one money, um, but maybe we will. And so most people, it's kind of like a hedge against all of the other money systems failing. So um, yeah, so that was where I think it's like, everyone do their own thing, obviously, but everyone that I know, I'm just telling like, you know, not financial advice or whatever, but in terms of Pascal's wager, this thing might actually succeed. It's looking like it's doing pretty well, going from guys in their basement to, millions and millions of users and countries getting on board and stuff. Like you, you maybe you want to get a little bit just in case, and yeah. So that's sort of where I'm coming
Mm.
from now. Like talking to friends and family, I'm like, yeah, sure, it might fail, but it also might not fail based on history, and human psychology and stuff. So
Yeah, like something really stood out to me as well, which was when you said before, not today, but I can't, like Ecuador or something like that, or some country where there's the pesos, and you're like, that's the official government currency, but what people want to flock to what's valuable, so everybody there is flocking to the US dollar. So it doesn't matter if the government tells them to use the pesos, it's whatever the people think is the best, they're going to use that. So I guess if you use sort of that example of what's accessible and what's the best in people's minds right now, is Bitcoin the best and is Bitcoin the most accessible um,
mm,
for them? And I guess that's just the sort of question. And I guess sort of some countries are thinking that right now, but it's almost on the individual person to figure out what's best for them. And I mean, if
mm,
they are thinking of like, like they've got this really cool job, and obviously there's real estate and stocks and like all these sort of time tested things which hold inherent value. um, you gave another good analogy another time too of the racehorse and the steam engine, and there's a cartoon of a racehorse or just a horse overtaking a steam engine because horses are quick and we don't want to go to slow steam engines and all that type of stuff. But eventually, cross country across the US, the steam engine's obviously going to win over the horse. But there's like that resistance against new technology and new ways of doing things. So maybe right now, to use that analogy, we're at the where we've just stepped on the steam train and we just started to chug along, and it might take
yeah,
a long time for people to actually realize, hang on a minute, this steam train's actually okay. Look, it's been traveling for 500 kilometers and it hasn't stopped yet, that type of
yeah,
thing. Yeah, okay.
yeah. And the longer it goes, the longer it survives, and the bigger it gets, the more people are like, well, okay, it's still going. It's 14 years in, um, and like I think we were talking the other day, and you were saying that someone where you live had said, "Oh, um, I wish I had enough money to buy a Bitcoin." And um, it's like, what do you mean? Like, you can buy any amount, you know that, right? You don't have to buy one Bitcoin. Like, you can buy $20 worth of Bitcoin. You can buy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. It's just so this. A lot of people don't know, but you've got like dollars, and in $1 you've got 100 cents, or you've got pounds, and in a pound you've got 100 pence. It's the smaller unit. So in Bitcoin you've got one Bitcoin, and you've got 100 million Satoshis. They're called Satoshis after the inventor, or Sats. So I'll just call them Sats from now. So you've got one Bitcoin is 100 million Sats. So um, this guy basically was looking at, all right, let's just assume that this thing works. You've got like 8 billion people, but they're not just billion people. There's companies and governments, and he's trying to like break it up. So it's like, all right, we've got all these kind of entities in the world, and we've only got 21 million Bitcoin. So if you don't know, there's a hard cap. It's never going to be more than 21 million. So you take that 21 million and divide it up into those entities. I'll just bring it up real quick because I got it here, just so folks at home know. But I'll just share my screen. Just give me 1 second, and we'll go in. Here we go. So this is a little chart he did. Obviously, it's just speculating and playing with some numbers and stuff. But on the left over here, you can see like all the entities. So nations, billionaires, multimillionaires, right down to poverty. And divide all of that up into 21 million. And someone like me, probably in this middle class, maybe even lower middle class,
Fair enough. Me
in
too,
in
man.
in a in our hyper Bitcoinized world, which aka, there's no more dollars, there's no more yen, there's no more euros. It's just everyone's using Bitcoin, buying their vegetables with Bitcoin. Everything's Bitcoin now. It's just boring money. In that world, everyone in that world, you can see here I've highlighted middle class. So an average middle class kind of family's entire net worth would be 100,000 sats, which is 0.001 Bitcoin, which at the time of this writing, it was 20,000 for BTC. So 20 bucks basically. So if you're DCAing 20 bucks of Bitcoin a week, you're essentially DCAing an entire middle class net worth each week. So that's kind of the attraction with Bitcoin. There's no yield, there's no interest. It's probably not going to moonshot like 20,000% in a day or whatever. But you're just like going, all right, maybe if this thing does succeed, it's certainly doing quite well, then I'm just going to slowly stack some sats, put them in cold storage, even if it's like, 1% or whatever, to some 20 bucks a week. Like, who cares about 20 bucks a week? And you're stacking a middle class's entire net worth each week. Go up the table a little bit. A millionaire is going to own 6 million Bitcoin, which is 0.06. So
It
it's
took
pretty
me
crazy. I mean, yeah, go
yeah,
on.
it is like it took me a little bit just to understand this chart, and just I guess to sum it up then, um, if you get rid of money and instead divide the wealth up into Bitcoin, so everyone has their equivalent worth in Bitcoin, this is how much Bitcoin they'd actually have. So a middle class family that earns $100,000 a year, if there's only Bitcoin that you can use, that would equate to 0.001 Bitcoin, which at today's price is 20 bucks. So what you're sort of saying is that if you bought 20 bucks of Bitcoin right now, then in 5 or 10 or 20 years or whatever, like if eventually Bitcoin becomes the main currency, then that 20 bucks will be the equivalent of $100,000 middle income
Yeah,
family.
not $100,000, but it'll be the equivalent of a middle class net
Ah,
worth.
yeah.
So
Okay.
a middle class family or whatever. So, all of the property that they own, all of their assets, all of their belongings, their income, everything is the equivalent of. So that 100,000 number there is talking about sats. So we're
Yeah.
talking about, like cents or pence. That's the sats thing. So over here, just next to it, 0.001 Bitcoin, which is, it's not a whole lot at the moment. Because, if this happens, then priced in US dollars, you're looking at 20 million a coin. 7 billion was the one I heard the other day.
Yeah, 7 billion a coin, then literally lots of people could retire right now if it
Oh
ever
yeah.
goes to that.
Yeah. So I guess it's on people to be like, because this is a once in a lifetime situation, right? Like, a new money hasn't been invented in thousands of years, essentially, like since gold or whatever. A new sound money. So to kind of sleep on this, like, I guess it's up to the person, the people out there watching or listening or whatever, to just be like, well, maybe they're all wrong and that's all baloney, but I should probably check out and see for myself if this thing's actually going to succeed. Because if it does, and I didn't stack $20 a week, you know, I'll be forever face palming, you know.
Yeah.
So I think the message here is just don't ignore Bitcoin. Go research it. Try and completely tear it down. You know, I encourage everyone to do that and research it and check it out. But that's
And
yeah,
maybe learn something along the way as well.
exactly. But yeah, I mean, Liechtenstein just signed up this week. Legal tender in Liechtenstein. I don't even know how to say it.
Liechtenstein, isn't it
That's the
Liechtenstein?
second country. Yeah,
Okay.
200 countries. We're up to 1% global adoption in terms of countries. It's like, well,
Where even
something's
is
happening.
where even is Liechtenstein?
I think
Isn't
it's in
it
Europe somewhere.
is it one of the Baltic states, or the, you know,
I
like
don't know.
around, yeah, whatever. Anyway, so they've adopted it. Cool. So we can go on holiday to Liechtenstein and buy stuff with our Bitcoin wallets. You know, we can send them some sats and buy a Coke or whatever it is they sell in Liechtenstein.
Yeah.
And if you are in Liechtenstein watching, then tell us if no, that'd be really cool. You know, leave a comment if you know, if you're going to adopt Bitcoin, because it's a legal tender over there now, because that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Soon. I think they've just said, yeah, we're going to do it. So yeah.
So we hope you learn a little bit about Bitcoin, and we're going to keep doing these videos. And if you want to check into Bitcoin land and everything that's going on with Bitcoin, then keep watching. And until next time, we'll see you in the next video.
Cool. See you guys.